Well, hello everybody. Nice to see you back. And as you can see, we've got the basic layout of the picture laid in last week in about half an hour. It's the way I like to work. I like the picture on the canvas as quickly as possible. So then what you're doing is refining. Now, today I'm going to do something about this because that's reasonably okay up there at the moment. I must admit some of the marks from the previous painting are still showing through, but they're not bothering me. This is a bit flat and dead, and at the moment is occupying my mind far more than it should. So what I'm going to do now is see what I can do to make that a bit more believable. For one thing, these tree trunks are far too big. In the wrong place. This greenery at the back is too solid in colour. It would be much more nuanced than that. And I think we could probably allow for a bit of earth to show through. And the wall isn't as high as I've made it. Certainly back here, it's a lot thinner. So there's quite a lot of quiet work to do there. So I'm going to start with, for me, a very low-key sort of effort. I'm using burnt umber, which, if you remember, is the greener of the browns that you can get these days. Burnt sienna is a very red brown, and this is more of a greeny brown. So you get, well, it's the colour I used here, which I think is quite acceptable. And if we put some here, to suggest the earth shining. So we've got to think about where the sun is coming from, if it's coming at all. And I'm going to suggest that it's coming from this side across here. So there's any patterns that it makes on the path are going to be useful in the overall design of the picture. So I've left a bit of a shadow there, as you can see. Forgot to do it there, but then, you know, that's life, isn't it? And then this, now I think I'll go just a bit darker up there. I've gone darker going back, so I better continue to do that here. So this is a slightly dark colour, and it curves round. Yeah. That's a bit too dark. Right, that's too. There we are. That's better. Bring it down here. This curve at the moment is not believable. I've got to do something instead of that, so I'll just paint it out for the time being. I think I must have added a bit of green to that. So yeah, that's better. It still had too much warmth for the distance. So by adding a bit of green to the mix, I've killed the warmth. So I think that's going to look a little bit better. And if it's on that side, it will be on this side here. Those funny squiggles there are just to suggest people are going to be there. And if I come down here with a lighter colour, suggesting spaces between the tree trunks. And again, I don't want that to be quite such an acute angle. Let's take it off a bit more like that. It's just a bit kinder. So that we've got a line. Right, if we take the mid-tone and bring it in between the people there. Yeah, the just when you're starting to work on the detail, there's no law about where you start or what you do. I find the best thing to do is to work at the bit that's bugging you until it stops bugging you. Then life gets altogether less tedious. So that I think this is actually a stone wall. Perhaps I ought to make it a bit more stone-like. And this is actually a much more acute angle than that one. I think I've got to bring it down more like that. Can you move the curtain, Rachel, so I can see? Thank you. We've had to alter where we're putting the screenshot of the people in the hall, and it's too far back for me to see. And it saves me getting up if I can actually look at the screen.
It's not the curtain, it's the problem.
No, it's all right. I can see better now. Yeah. Much better. Yes. Yes, that's right. So there we have that. If I can get this the path in the right place. Then you know, the rest of the thing falls together nicely, which is what you want. And if you don't feel happy about what you're painting, then all bets are off. It's not a good feel. If the sun's coming that way, this would be in quite a bit of shadow. As a wall. And then there. Right. I'm getting confused because I'm trying to think of 6 things at the same time. Let's get this. Right, I think that's about. You see, there's no point in working on this area here if I don't get this in a sensible place at a sensible size. And it really doesn't matter if it looks like there's a log stood on the end or what it looks like. We want it to look just about right. I think that gives a better impression of the road curling away. I think it probably comes a bit more this way before it goes that way. Right, now, if I take the greens Let's see what I can do with the greens here. I've got the oxide of chrome, which is quite a dull green, what I put here. Mixed it with a bit of Indian yellow. Indian yellow is quite a dark yellow when it's on its Todd. Maybe you put a bit of white in. I don't like putting white in greens if I can avoid it. But that's breaking up the area here, making it less monolithic. It's meant to be a garden. You wouldn't have flat colour here. It would be I'm not happy with only that green. What I would normally use is sap green, and we can't get it at the moment. As Rachel tried at the weekend. But I have here the tail end of an alizarin green, which is a fairly close approximation. Oops. We'll get it later. Right, so I'm going to use some of that now. You see, it's a much brighter green. Well, you can't see, actually. So if I mix that with a bit of cadmium, just to break up. Now, as we go further back, if you remember, colours further away go bluer and greyer. Now, if you add white to a green, it makes it much more dull colour. If your green still sings out too much, as this one is, what you need is, it should be a chorus now, a touch of red. Where is my red? That's orange. This will do. If you remember, a touch of red in the green will just calm it down a bit. You really just have to show the brush the red. So, you know, there's the red. Now pretend you're being added to the green. You don't want to put a lot in. You put a lot in, it goes brown, it goes olive. You don't want that. You just want enough to take the brightness off the green. And it's so easy to overdo it. Right, now. I want it to be differentiated, of course, from the racemes that are going on top. But I think we can manage to do that with the lemon yellow, which we have managed to find. We get a much better look. We'll go back to the darker colour now. Quite nice. Right, so I added a bit of blue to my oxide of chrome. If I put in the shadow of the bushes, this is the bottom here. just putting little splodges down, almost quantilistic. We mustn't forget the other side. Now this side will have the light, but the bushes will provide some shade in places underneath where they hang forward. And by putting the shadow in, you're making those bushes hang forward over the soil. I'm going over the people, but I'm not worried about that. That's not going to hurt. Right. Now, over on this side, I can add a bit more dark to the bushes because they will be almost silhouetted against the sunlight which is coming behind them. Now, if I go back to my burnt sienna, burnt umber, and think about those precepts now, because we have to suggest that these are suspended from something. I don't want them to be too strongly marked there. That's quite an interesting little collection of marks here. This one's quite knobby. Those other ones might have been newer trees. This one looks quite knobby, as if it's been there a long time. And I don't want to put them growing out of the ground. They are in the picture, but I want to make them more ephemeral than that, a bit more light, less strongly marked. And then as you get back here, they get less. Put closer together. Just a set of marks. Now, we'll catch the light a bit. So I'll have to put a little bit of modelling on the side. To suggest the sunlight. I might even decide to put quite a bit of modelling on the side. You know what happens if I mix? No, I don't like that. Right, I tried mixing cadmium yellow with the burnt umber and it came out rather horrible. That looks a little bit less grotesque than it did. Just a little bit touch further down. That one. And I don't want them to be the same. This is what habit does for you, what practically. We do try to make things the same, don't we? You've got to battle hard to make it not the same. See, I had the light on both of those practically the same. They're in different positions. It shouldn't be the same. I should be able to. Right, okay. Not 100% sure that's working. I might. Well, never mind. Let's go on the other side. See how we can get on the other side. Now, on this side, we've got around about here. We've got quite an interesting shape of a tree trunk. And if you get something that's interesting, you know, do put it in. It helps. That's a bit gross. The brush is getting rather full of paint. So what I've done is to rinse it out. But I suppose what I ought to do is get a new brush. I haven't. Right, that's not good. Let's take that off. Right, let's try again now. I've got the burnt umber. Let's see if I can be a little bit more delicate this time. There we are. And then there's that there. And then that comes down quite strongly. And then there's this one here, which comes down here. This is a bit better. That one there. And we've got the odd one here. If you roll your brush in the paint, you get more of a point even on a soft oil painting brush. This is a synthetic. So if you can get a point, you can get a thinner line. And I'm taking a bit of time over this because I want this I'm getting too thick again. You can get this part's not going to be difficult at all. Really, it can be quite exuberant and interesting from that point of view. Right. Okay. Now then, if we look at the picture, just above that level there, around about there, is where the racemes come down to, round about here. So quite a lot of this is going to be covered with racemes. So I think I can probably leave that at that for the time being, and work out how I'm going to produce the racemes and get colours in the right place on the rest of the picture. I'm not 100% happy with where I've got the lights and darks here. There is quite a dark patch here, which comes down. Whoops, wrong paint. Beg your pardon. Which comes down more here. So we've got about 10 minutes left, so I will use that time to refine where I've got my tendency is at this stage, you know, to start putting the receives in, and I think that would not be a good idea really. I've added a bit of blue to the mix, because that will push the dark colours further back, and they could look more like the far distance showing through. If you get the darks in the right place, when you put the lights on top, they're so much more believable. At this stage, you're actually aching to get the brights and the colour coming up at the top here. But it's worth spending a bit of time looking not so much at your image that you're trying to create, more at this. What does this need to make it become more convincing and more believable? Where do I need the darks? I think this comes down quite far. There's a little bit of the dark up here, but not a lot. And then I think if I take a bigger brush, I just very carefully put my colours on top of my brushes. It really helps. Right. He's a dead one. He's a dead. Right. So if I take the cadmium yellow, practically neat, and put it up here, that's equally good foil. That's practically the light, the sunlight, turning the lemon of the seams into sunshine, so to speak. So that's quite a good colour to get there. And if the sun's coming through there, this is where this colour would be. You've got to put a little bit over here, but not enough. Just some of the colour to capture. Let's see what this lemon. This is the lemon, which is with the I'll try again this lemon yellow. Yes, that's going to be a good colour. Much more light there. I don't want to put the light catching over here yet. That's that next week, but probably the week after. Whoops. What happened?
Your network connection just suddenly went blank. We have 5 minutes left.
Right, okay. And I can bring that down here.
Not to worry people online, I will of course take a photograph and add that to the video.
Can't they see anymore?
They can see, but it's shrunk.
Oh, right, okay. Right. Okay. Right. Well, I think actually I'm just fiddling. I think it probably would be better if I actually stopped and let it dry. If I was painting myself, I would carry on and keeping on. But because I'm going to have to stop to start again next week, I think I'll just stop there and leave it at that for the time being. Okay.